I said that.
I'm good ladder.
Cool.
1 sec. Do you want to know the Wi-Fi password?
It's John0812 with a capital J. For the student at work.
Thank you.
Yeah. Anyone not good? The advantages and stability for security dilemma, Massa 4 deployed U.S. principal attacks, aggression, driving, spiraling, military buildup, and its calculation. Plural 20. Major premise not need for deterrence, attack, asymmetric attacks, increase of vertical clashes, by civil domination, which can be accomplished with capabilities out of region with the use of original skills, security, translate and security for others, resulting in less stability, security dilemma, cost run, receive, threat, and receive, and respond by enhancing security, investment paramilitary groups, interpret as well to war problems, rebels to arm, less aggressive posture, reduce insecurity, and that's empirically proved maximum pressure campaign imposed October 7th, surge trigger, Iranian lash out, column 3-1. As the control of ISIS, highly likely group was surge, U.S. attacking the Iranian big militia, failed to deter more than 165 attacks, Houthis, Hezbollah, Nazi groups of war, higher cost increases, unpredictably reduces deterrence, attributing is difficult to interlocally aligned with the militia capabilities, deterrence like exponentially protect for escalation high, maintaining troops of vulnerable position force, Americans respond, adding fuel, if slow cost to be a cycle of retaliatory attacks, U.S. should scale down, and Iran war goes nuclear every 20. Attacking Iran escalates large scale war, Russian China drowning with industry use, unintentionally accident or miscoming the weapon, habitable famine, ecological catastrophe, destroys civilization, biosphere, overzone, layer, population perish, and second, adventures in U.S. posture, increased strategic temptation by lowering the cost of intervention, creating path dependencies, generating policy inertia, 72. Current posture of scare cost of force with a marginal cost lower transition increases return to military Middle Eastern quickly goes to base of voice temptation path dependency previous wars one terror rock faulty infrastructure remain depends on level restraint rhetoric base made easy start new intervention due to logistical ease end. Current presence self-perpetuating new intervention is justified to protect current forces. Plural 20. Present self-perpetuating bureaucratic inertia justified because of force protection critically flawed as long as force available plus we can find nails withdrawn into strategically insignificant disputes with instability as a result of involvement requires a drawdown end. U.S. presence creates a racist cycle of culture of militarism that encourages adventurers and flagged in 421. Coursing politics, accentuates xenophobic populism support for Trump. The permanent war became institutionalized because sites, tortures, assassinations, exacerbated inequality, social strains, emerging inflates executive branch at the expense of Congress and makes the military over dominant militarization come to the home and domestic surveillance police, which divides Trump, conflicted terrorism, immigration, and Islam. And third is alliances. Current U.S. posture grants unreliable allies, reverse leverage, and generates moral hazard, facilitating reckless escalation. Blacked in 421. Commitments not influence regional states to resist demands, expansive commitment to diminish allies fears of defeat, molding belligerent stability, instability paradox across Turkey, Saudi, anxiety pertaining to facing axis hinders, willingness to criticize or coerce, creates a moral hazard, dependency creates, reverse leverage comes to that influence who's not drawing down cannot be that withdrawals causing anxiety, recklessness for respective mandate, losing commitment, bargain is dysfunctional, anxiety, playing partners has emboldened them end. Everyone knows that ever expanding U.S. presence is unsustainable, the world is preparing for complete abandonment. Call it 23. Leaders flirted with pulling out talks not provided with Biden, but the perception that withdrawal is, in the words of Afghanistan, is a widely being narrative. The U.S. is banning trades to pivot to Asia. America first rhetoric. The rhetoric does not correlate with reality. The U.S. actually increases its footprint. And the perception that the U.S. is bogged down in West Asia generates strategic uncertainty that shirks adversarial curbing undermines allied assurances. Black in 21. Middle East commitments have the opportunity to foster into more important theaters, credibility, interest, and power to increase by divestment of other commitments. So going for the East Asian visible no reason abandonment, Saudi diminish commitment to Pacific for April force, so actually enhance ability to defend Asian and European commitments, increasing credibility lines to non-blackjack and outside presence prevents us from counting Russian China feels political backlash that makes withdrawal inevitable. Cup 22. Main strategic air and blame in Middle East, oil containing Iran and containing terrorists can be through diplomacy and surgical ops, isolation sentiment, go on schools in Arkansas rather than Afghanistan, overcompensation through overreach, underreach, withdrawal from central commitments, European East Asia, Trump contemplating withdrawing from NATO and Japan and European East Asia withdrawal, unsettled eyes and will adversities, surrounding arseries, intensifying rivalry, stabilizing European Asia, catalyzed for collective action, Russian invasion, Georgia, Ukraine, making clear anything with satisfying presence in Europe and needed to deter the Kremlin, American interests are not to have Europe. The most pressing will be to contain Chinese towards stability and shared leadership and great power war turns every scenario cause extinction. Clear 23. Nukes proliferate also World War II, where high protector can make every system develop new weapons, but existential capacity escalate dramatically with new bioweapons, AW's unprecedented scale that tend to accelerate climate change, undermine international institutional ideas, relations, deteriorate oppression policies, reduce interdependence, invasion in Ukraine, risking the war tends to make AI or biotech like safety for power, relations of influence, collective action, and impelling Middle East war goes global and nuclear plus 20. Iran vowed revenge in the Middle East on a conflict that spiraled to World War III, strikes the herald of attack drawing Russia. China took the Gulf War become involved. Everyone wants to support northern Syria, make action unpredictable. US, China, Russia, and Israel will have nukes possessing next-gen hypersonics to end nuclear exchange and plan the United States ought to substantially reduce military presence within the area of responsibility of central command in the West Asia, North Africa region, reducing presence would necessitate a shift to a distributed basing architecture. Joyce in Monster 21. NSS calls for right-sizing presence, fewer courses, and hand deterrence. USS officials stress the need to convey distributed basing level consolidation, dispersal to new smaller bases, founder and start with the line new operational concept reducing the presence and shifting from currently aggressive posture defensive distributed basing stall still enables us to respond in crisis. Washington 920. Rethink basing architecture and abolish urban base consolidation, small distributed base, do more reduced presence, prioritize diplomacy, renewable greater flexibility, security, much core, tiny presence extends basing band out since transformed to permanent due to forever wars and reunions system four bases to targets US cannot quickly escalate it. Sheer number can overwhelm US missile defense, sprawling bases, vulnerable size and location liabilities, to downsize to smaller bases, host rotation, maintain some now present eliminated counterterrorism and security cooperation for smaller redundant bases, over capability, rapid quickly reduce military footprint, survivability requires move away from major bases, distributed, improve resiliency, reduce attractiveness that targets, prioritize China and Russia with flexibility, responding to major provocations, and that strength deterrence tempers defenders and raises unreliable allies without completely abandoning the region. Cryan 23. Rather than reassurance presence to resentment, alienating allies will with non-inciting present obstacles, avoid intervention, more modest posture and ready restraint few anti-basing efforts, call for random drawback, collaborative alignment to posture, better match for threats, and the plan resolves regional security dilemmas, which creates a stable regional balance of power. Goals 21. U.S. Western movements between the scales allow regional states to balance against each other, sustainable regional order, use just safely drawn out military defense over 5 to 10 years, immediately been discussed with regional powers, laws to prepare for main contingent, risk-giving countries incentive to stabilize their ventures ever going home in framework. The standard is maximizing expected well-being, prefer equals and partials to like actors, resolves invent records, which explains the value. Grade 15. Util isn't centered going back to the tragic morally God tries to do values, which is based on different ways of life, resolve trade-off, have some kind of common metric. Util is impartiality, social decision-making, disregard everyone's interest, equal matters, everybody to answer quality, country experience, why do you care, thinking, come to quality experience, why you go to work, why you make money, have to live, to sleep, it's cold, to roam, you cold, to fan, men's terms, the pleasure and pain is good standard for resolving public disagreements, reduce the best overall experience, and yes, one hand theory, it's strong the debater, LD types, human theory, invaluable checks, abusive next direct, empirical, next side bias, times check, reciprocity, jack, convention, example, and any decision, and non-niche ethics are impossible. Grade 7. Science is telling us human moral judgment and democracy, rational enterprise, judgment driven by hodgepodge of emotional disposition, shaped by hodgepodge evolution, force biological and cultural seeding landscapes, any coherent or moral theory can accommodate a moral intuition, ontologists, insiders who may be misleading, friends, ontology in terms of values that are not distinctly deontological consequences against treating people as mere objects, cover objects, biological, death is ontologically bad. Option 3. Death is subjective, evil ontologically destroys the subject.
Okay.
The current existing subject is where I cut it. Good for prospects.
Okay.
Actually, wait, let me grab water. Good.
Why didn't you disclose the plan text or advantage area?
Because they're new, and that's the norm on the circuit.
Let's talk about util. The green 15 evidence. How do we know our empirical investigations are reliable?
Yeah, sure. So the green 15 card says, well, the first one or the second one?
The first one or second one, whichever one answers the question.
Sure, I think both answer the question. The first green 15 card is good because it says intuitively we know that pain is bad. Like if we touch a hot stove, we know that hurts intuitively based on our experiences, which means that judging things based on pleasure and pain and human intuition is the best way to judge.
So is your framework like hedonistic? Does it say pleasure and pain are intrinsically valuable and dissoluble?
Yeah, sure, we would defend hedonistic util.
If I believe that me touching a stove and feeling pain is bad, why does it follow that other people matter to me?
Why does it follow that other people matter to you? That's not the argument. The argument is that pain is bad for most people as a general principle.
Yeah, like I can reasonably see that if I touch a hot stove, my hand will hurt, so I don't want to do it. But why does it follow that pain to other people is bad to me?
It's not bad to you. It's just bad in general for everybody, which is why we shouldn't.
Okay, gotcha.
Which is why it's morally repugnant to maximize pain.
Okay, and let's talk about the plan text. What does substantially reducing within the area of responsibility of central command entail?
Yeah, sure. So CENTOM is like where the US / the DoD has control over the Middle East, or we call it West Asia. So it's like.
So what countries would the affirmative reduce presence in?
Yeah, we would reduce presence in, there's like a list of countries like Egypt, Jordan, Syria, Saudi Arabia, Yemen, Oman, UAE.
Okay,
Qatar.
and how many, like approximately how many troops constitutes the affirmative substantial reduction?
Sure. Well, we can have a debate about what what substantial reduction means, but most of our authors think that because right now we have around like 45,000 troops in the Middle East / West Asia. So most of our authors say we would decrease that to around 10,000 to 20,000.
Okay.
So we would say that's normal means probably.
Okay, but you're not gonna like take a specific stance?
No, but I've told you what our authors predict would be a result of the plan.
Okay, gotcha. Let's talk about the, actually let's go back to the framework. Why would biological death be ontologically bad if your framework only condemns pleasure and pain?
Because death is painful. And
Okay, what if death wasn't painful? Like what if you got eviscerated like in the context of like a nuclear war?
Well, we also think it's bad for subjects to be destroyed because...
So does your framework value other
life.
things external to pain and pleasure then?
No, but we want to maximize expected well-being, and destroying the subject would get rid of expected well-being, like the lives of future generations.
Okay. I'll send the doc. It's gonna be 6 in then case, and I might read one more if I have time. I sent the doc.
You said 6?
Yeah.
Maybe 7?
Yeah.
Is there an order on case?
Framing and then the advantage.
Okay.
Yeah, framing advantage. Is anyone not ready?
Okay.
Okay. First off, interpretation. Debaters must disclose advantage areas, plan text 30 minutes before the round. If they haven't read the affirmative before violation, they didn't. That was crossed. The standard is draft 2, not disclosing incentivizes pride tactics and poorly refined positions that rely on artificial and vague negative engagement to win debates. Negatives are forced to rely on generics, which exacerbates the infinite pre-run. Perhaps to fairness and education of voters. Debates a game that needs rules to evaluate and drop the debater. It deters by altering the calculus for reading abusive arguments. That's a positive norm indicts their entire advocacy. Reasonability is arbitrary, self-serving, creates a race to the bottom of illogical argumentation. It independently collapses the competing interns because we justify 2 bright lines under an offense defense paradigm. RBIs are illogical since you should win for being fair, destroys norm because I can't concede the counter inter. If I realize I'm wrong, which forces me to argue for bad norms. Encourage debating because a better theory debater will be intentionally abusive. Debate the RBI proliferating abuse. Second off, interpretation. If the affirmative fits anything other than the exact text of the resolution, the United States ought to substantially reduce its military presence in the West Asian North Africa region. They must provide a counter-solvency advocate violation. They don't. They defend Central Command versus limits. There are infinite things you could defend which proceed uncontestable arguments. Even if your interpretation is true, the only way to verify if it's fair is proof of counter-arguments. Second, shiftiness. CSA conceptualize what their advocacy is and how it's implemented. Ambiguous affirmatives. We don't know about cantiling. If they delineate these things, third is resource force the affirmative. Go to the other side of the library and contest our viewpoints, which encourages more in-depth answers because I can find responses. Affirmative teams must not read new offense in the one area related to a new framework, recontextualize away off arguments under a different framework, or turn the 1 and 2 framework. Anything else allows them to reconcede all our framework interactions. Just go for 4 minutes of turns against our NC, which always feel is the only thing unique to LD debate, and time is the only quantifiable metric of abuse. Third off, interpretation. The 1 and 2 must explicitly specify what substantial entails in a delineated evidence or cross-ex. I modified the insert text. It's not technical nor precise. Harmon 7. Substantial is not a technical term nor precise measurement. Substantial does not allow for calculation. It is more than little but less than great and extremely vague. This list for legal writers that used to quantify substantial 15% between 40 and 50% or 50%. Other authors declared more than 50%. Fixed percentages may be arbitrary violation. They didn't. The Gale class specification is key to robust debates over the details of military ambiguity. Allows one to restart that delay core neg ground, which means the 1 and 2, which outweighs the only quantifiable abuse. Index topic generics, which outweighs limited to 2-month. Lack of specification means you negate on presumption. Details will get worked out post plan and fail. Fourth off, permissibly presumption negate, not affirmed. First, obligation. The resolution indicates the affirmative has to prove an obligation. Permissibility would deny the existence of obligation. Second is falsity. Statements are more often false because proving one part false disproves the entire statement. Third is negating. It's harder. 8 point first and last speech controlling debate. B 1 year outliers creating sounds excuse. C is infinite prep time. 4 trichotomy triple between obligation, prohibition, permissibility, proving one disproves the other since they are intertwined, which always to the interacts with each obligation. Will concede ethics are contingent on empirical investigation, but certainty is a side constraint on such duty burdens of proof. Under 75 knowing entails when it's certain. This is made plain by sentences like he knew he was raining but wasn't absolutely certain. Such can express no truth if he wasn't certain he didn't know, and that makes empirical investigations non-verifiable to the possibility of external one skepticism. First is appearance reality gap is rocky. 16 of X and Y are indistinguishable. You can't know X and not Y. We have no reason. We are made with massive sensory deception. The S must be able to external world being true and it appearing as if it's true. Second is induction fails, relies on past events, justifying self, which is circular. It's does not guarantee it holds uniform across time. Dirt is a skeptical hypothesis denies empirical verifiability. Ms. Rocky at 16:2. Let O be that I have two hands and H that I am a brain in a vat. I know O. If I know not H, I don't know not H. Therefore, I don't know O. However, I think therefore I am. The only certain principle in ethics is that the thinker existence, the possibility of deception implies a subject to be deceived. That justifies solipsism. Tartany 21. One, just how improbable is it? It's a natural conclusion from external world skepticism. Solipsism provides an answer to intractable questions, and that mathematically proves solipsistic egoism. Tartany 21:2. Suppose Ava maximizes expected value, selfish option 1,000 times greater. Solipsism is true. Only Ava exists. We have astronomically greater impact on average welfare. Ava ought to choose the selfish option. Her own interest, I believe, has more weight. And Pascal's wager flips extinction framing. Tartany 21:3. Solipsistic swamping survive many order magnitude reduction and probability expected value calculations. Dominated tiny probabilities. Pascal's wager are going to all probabilities carries serious drawbacks, and death does not outweigh maximizing well-being. Collapses the moral egoism. Even if pleasure or death is intrinsically good or bad, it does not follow that other subjects are intrinsically good. First, in non sequitur, saying that X is good for B does not entail X is good for everybody. Second, solipsism. We can't verify if other humans are also are experiential objects or just fleshy objects. Third is dependency. They have a warranted by one agent has an obligation to any other that negates due to the Darwinian dilemma. It logically justifies states that individuals do whatever necessary due to survival of fitness. They are 2K in a hostile environment. Resources for survival preparedness were to satisfy their own need for food before others. The egoistic behavior contributes to fitness. From this, the most efficient emerge selfishness, increased behavior. Next off, certainty is a necessary second. Sure, statements like the resolution. First, contradiction disprove logic. Down to logic. Lucas 17. You'll never go from true to right, but false contradiction negate logically. The claim and not cannot be true, since even a teensy bit of falseness must be entirely true. Second is affirmation theory. Affirm requires unconditionally maintaining as true. Dictionary.com affirm maintain as true. Empirical moral theories are regulated by the falsifiability theory. This renders obligations in a state of uncertainty. Holds that the possibility of negative observation sufficient to disprove an empirical law. Nichols 05. A law cannot be verified. There are always instances beyond this observed universal claims to falsify. Aliens at the first flags on refuted all swans are by the amount of testing can establish it. True, our best efforts remain open to future revisions. Thus, the effort is to deny the falsifiability of the resolution. Sixth off, ethics must hold agents culpable, as otherwise we cannot be responsible for more wrongdoing since they occur externally to our will happen regardless whether we advise against them. However, willing fails. Agents lack control. Util triggers determinism because of brain activity. Coin 12. We are a collection of molecules that must obey physical and probability of change in the environment. Everything we do must come down to molecule free will occur. How does a step outside of our brain structure? We are context of our brain independently. Yes, activation distinction. First is infinite obligation. No activation means you're culpable for every omission, which is untenable. You could be carrying cancer right now, entering this negates the one is suboptimal compared to some alternative like consulting process differences or a tweaking enforcement. That means you negate because acting is never obligatory because it is always permissible to omit from action. We'll read the seventh off. The Joint Chief of Staff ought to recommend that the United States substantially reduces military presence within the area responsibility of Central Command in the West Asian North Africa region. The President refers a friend to 22 civilian leaders that for Obama and Trump even in direct opposition, politically challenging to oppose beneficial to align political sway, and that solves every impact. Figure 21. CMR navigate conflict and stability. Allies WMD now care. Philippines rivalries, professionals lead to caution, humility, neglect, impose intolerable cause, and process is key. If you rank 21, trust is universal, solvent, is genuine, trust intentional, military, the initiator, and Kosovo proves the statement of on implies immediacy and certainty. Code 19, ought and also given charge shows immediately. Now go to the case starting on the framework. Reject one AR theory, the two in our split over covers theory because the 7-6 should be skewed. They get two clause for persuasive advantage and no 3 in our second time skill splitting because we're forced to spend 230 on a 15-second shell losing substance. Third resolvability, either you always accept your response, so we always lose. Since the arm responded to, or you interview, make your resolve, which always takes the out of the hands. 4 paradigms should be contextual to 1 AR shells. Differences between abuse and 2 in our contextualizations are key. And go to the advantage extinction is good. Rather than 17 quality human life is appalling. Almost always hungry, thirsty, thermal discomfort, textures, cold, pain, violent, the positive frustration. Force to work and find our jobs exhausting, professional aspiration remain unfulfilled. Lonely people remain single, those who marry, fight, and divorce, people prove to be disappointment, those close to us suffer voluntary human extinction. Movement would be wrong to create artificial consensus of human computers. Increase the amount of suffering, pain is worse than pleasure is good, chronic pain, but no chronic pleasure. Would you trade 5 minutes of worse pain for 5 minutes of the greatest pleasure? Missing out on good experiences isn't as bad as having bad ones. Absence of the good wouldn't be bad. Nobody to be deprived of those good things. Human life is cosmically meaningless. We exist in different universes, and circular arguing that the purpose of humanity's existence and skip to humanity will inevitably cause the destruction of the universe, which outweighs Packer 07 once we hold alien interest equals our own emerging technology that threaten life beyond the planet Earth. The article celebrated the last platinum map together, reaching energy experiments started a transition that would create alters based healing all life, nanotechnology, self-replicate, endless quantity of machines, converting all matters and universe into copies of themselves. Humanity interest on appropriate confirming only in the terms of human interest will result in priorities designed to minimize, maximize benefit to humanity. Rhetoric would not be just because arbitrarily declares other life forms unworthy, moves the problem from one self-destruction to universal genocide, and aliens exist. Litchfield 16. We are not special. Astronomers are estimating the universe has about 500 trillion species in the last few years. We gained as much clear sense Kepler identified thousands of planets. The only card I cut was the Lichman card at thousands of planets. Or Litchfield, sorry.
Thousands of planets. Cool. Good for concepts.
Yeah.
Independent reasons to date.
There shouldn't. I don't think there are any. Like all the offs are delineated. It's not like there's something independent of the offs.
Okay. Cool. Let's look at the second off. What is the violation?
You didn't provide a counter-solvency advocate.
Oh, sorry. Why isn't a central command the same as defending the substantial reduction in the West Asian North Africa region?
Our argument is that if you modify the resolution's text, which is the interpretation is that if you modify the resolutional text, you have to provide a counter-solvency advocate to prove that your AF is predictable and that the negative is ground.
Why is it the AF's burden to rejoin the resolution?
It's not your burden to rejoin the resolution. It's your burden to prove that there is rejoinder to the resolution. Like you don't have to read a disadd to the AF in the AF. You just have to provide like a link to a counter-solvency advocate.
What's the impact to that?
We've read 3 limits, shiftiness, and research.
Okay, that's fine. Let's look at the second, the substantial.
Oh, I forgot. I guess I don't know if you count this as lineated, but there's NCC in the second off.
Sure. Let's look at this substantial shell. What does the technical vision of the topic look like?
One where the AF specifies like either a percentage or a qualitative definition of substantial.
Okay. Why is that uniquely good on this topic, military presence?
Yeah, because variations in definitions of substantial are huge. Our evidence indicates that the definition of substantial varies from 15% to over 50%, which would be an over 20,000 difference in troop that the affirmative could defend, depending on what the 1 in C reads. If the 1 in C reads assurance dissads, those are obviously based off of the scale of the link, stuff like that.
What is your standard?
It's in the doc. It's clash, topic generics.
No, I'm sorry. I mean like on the framework page, i.e. in response to util.
Like the answers to util were all done on the 4th off. Like we answered.
Yeah, but you say certainty is a necessary side constraint. So what's certain?
You have to prove that empirical investigations are 100% reliable.
Why 100%?
Yeah, because we've indicated that if you make a statement such as the resolution, the Unger evidence indicates that the burden of proof is on you to prove 100% risk. It's proven if I say a sentence like, I know it will rain, but I'm not certain, that would be completely illogical because to know it would rain, I would have to be 100% certain.
But I don't understand. Why does that mean 100%? That's just circular. Can't you be pretty sure it's going to rain, like over 50% sure?
No.
Why?
Because our Unger evidence has qualified that the first part of the sentence implies 100%.
To say that something is certain? Can you say something is
probable?
What
made a statement of the resolution.
What if we say that the AF is probably good?
That's not good enough.
Sufficient to affirm?
No, it's not.
Why? Where does it say the resolution has to be?
Well, also the certainty thing is not a qualification on the AF, it's a qualification on empirical investigations. You have to prove that empirics or induction or any of the sort are 100% reliable.
than the order of the one in C. Is anyone not good? Great. Sweet. First one case, counter-interpretation, ask if we do offense in one area related to new framework, contextualize, make up arguments under different pictures from the one and see framework confirming is hard times to abuse and extract empirical next step bias vote. To prevent existential regional war with in the Middle East and on wipe out extinction outweighs humans create infinite value that outweigh potential suffering all other organisms. Towards 20. Life is infinite, enabling mortality, life are not supposed to about it, to warn suicide, people not positive well-being, violence, decline, moral effect, to make the world become peaceable and tolerant, enhance the creative human condition that's far superior to high probably we're only intended life in the universe tomorrow, find a novel section, expect to value humanity with his unique language, more reasons, art, music, and science, knowledge, possess infinite value. It would be worse things that could happen, cut the card out of habit, and no universe is durable, no nanotech. At 14, is anything we do to destroy the universe? No, the universe is really valuable. Gamma rebirths 30 times the sun, creating black hole that habits fairly regularly. This is go with the power that exponentially see anything many like produce for a very long time, doesn't appear to do any harm, wouldn't have to tech to anything. The world isn't already doing fusion, is nothing new. LH as stimulants processing curing space, counterpart of space, no aliens being 21. Life is exceptionally rare, we only civilization within the universe, all data consists with being low, we resolve every chance advance, the dwarf star will be longer than our sun, counterpart of sun, go to the offs. Counter-interpretation debaters don't have to disclose new apps, finding advantages for ground key, innovation, improved on-and-free thinking, education, balance on the disadvantages with less experience in reading the app. There's no rule for disclosure, means voting us down would be arbitrary and discouraged substantive debate. There's a whole, this is a core whole res app, so there's no PEPSQ and use reasonability. There's 3-month long term topic round robins are for experimentation, counter solvency, kid theory, counter-interpretation. We don't have to provide a counter solvency app kit, even if we don't defend exactly the resolution proving. CENTOM is, we listed a whole bunch of countries across it, which proves that this app is the same as a whole resolution app, and the only burden of the app is to rejoin. The only burden of the app is to prove that the plan is a good idea, which means that their topic is non-resolutional. You shouldn't vote on non-resolutional theory because that's arbitrary and moves the topic now. And Spec is a voting interval, semantic stress, and substantive debate. Use the one year counter we have to specify as far as the resolution. A, substance crowd weight candidates, main appendix. B is that they can be normal evidence for dissent to solve their offense cross accountable. C, the app force debate almost 6 and argument. C is that their definition doesn't make sense because the standard is qualitative. So when 17, threshold whether it's a statutory recursion, rehearsal, quantitative, qualitative portion includes a single component that is sufficiently important to act, does not define standard return its meaning if it becomes ambiguous, refer to large portion important or considerable. And then next off, no permissibility or starts the wording of the resolution. The United States taking the action if it's permissible, we can win. That's a good idea to do the APIs that usual disproves permissibility. You're always obligated to do the action that best maximizes utility of saving the drowning child is mandatory, not permissible. C is audit's moral obligation to Serena.com and D audit express duty or moral obligation. Presume math actually my name or believe statement true. Start off true unless proven. Otherwise certainty is not a side constraint. You just have to prove that you can do the next best thing, and good theories are good enough, which is why there's something in the resolution which doesn't have to be 100% certain. One is that yes, induction and consequences because their logic is its own curve. Opening my mouth requires induction because it requires prediction. If I drop a pen, I know it will hit the ground the same way if I touch a hot stove. I know it will be bad to be only responsible for reasonably predictable consequences with solves, infinite regress, and moral quality details equal weight to everyone's pain and studies for predictions work. Otis 21. Description 28 on forecast 50 effects on the clear large experiment predicted effects track results. Wall of averages specified forecast plans reduces error. High accuracy for super forecasters can be identified using observables. Pascal readers flips out because any risk of morality is real means that you chose true Ross. 6. Reductive inflation theories, rational trap theories. It doesn't matter what one does. There's no harm by accepting non-uniform theory, nihilistic theory. Don't sign any values for position. And perp they read defense for their own position. Their theory arguing proof that skip is false. Then next off the aspirin is to prove the desirability of the app and valid represents the normative endorsement recognition of the resolution. There's affirm is not in the resolution, which means it's proved by resolve. Part 1. There's content resolve is used to emphasize its policy innovations of the statement of the adopted very terms app. Next upon my view and prefer interpretatives are rather than infinite number of assumptions that the app can win on them, which makes being app impossible because there are different ways of neither truth and policy of the resolution, which means there are more avenues to victory, which means that this flows in RBI and plans are intellectually access to the resolution is standardization. It's always the case that it's true in some other cases, in some cases it's not. Determinism, the standards maximize best well-being, excellent modesty, if you framework, index system, impact defense, confers to worst all evils. Mirror 18. Some catastrophes that remember the 1990 extends the loss of future generations, cultural generation, no difference distinction for consequences, then it makes a part of our action, makes it intentional to happen, and even under determinism, we should be able to do the next best thing because we have experienced the act of choosing, the counter plan. Once from the count plan results in the plan, 2 is no means also benefit. Home swing 2, National Defense Authorization Act legislation for its have continues. Home swing 2, the judicial requirement for the CGS to advise the president on how to best integrate military force across the globe can solve time frame because the Goal 21 crisis allowing the putting a timeline on the app means that other countries will stabilize the Middle East.
Okay. I'll start prep now. Were there any independent voters?
Spec.
Okay. And the standards were just like the non-resolutional theory gods though?
No. It says sandbagging distracts from substantive debate. Excuse the one here.
Okay.
Our interpretation is that the affirmative must specify the definition of the word substantial in either the plan or in cross-examination. First, we'll do the paradigm issues. Reasonability collapses to competing interpretations as a conceded argument. It's a meta-constraint on substantive justification for reasonability because competing interpretations is a logical prerequisite, i.e. the fact of debating between reasonability and competing interpretations cedes the authority of an offense-defense paradigm that justifies competing interpretations implicitly, which outweighs any of their arguments, which was above. However, they've also conceded reasonability is arbitrary, specifically in the instance of this one AR, because they have not justified a bright line for what reasonability is. They have just said that the topic is 3 months long without giving you any explanation of how that results in a offense, and said round robins are key for experimentation, which also does not justify our views. There is zero bright line given, which means it's just a question of them asking you to gut check it, which is terrible. Judge intervention outweighs any of their offense because it allows the judge to flip a coin, which flips both education and fairness, because it destroys incentives to do research before the round if they know that the judge will just intervene on what they think theory is good or bad, and also also flips any of their fairness arguments because of the fact that judge intervention definitionally takes the debate out of the debater's hands, which outweighs because their argument is just asking you to check whether that you think specifically shells are good or bad. Next is drop the debater. It's the only way to modify incentive structures in order to deter future abuse, which is inside of the 1 and C, and conceded last of no RVIs. They said no voting issues except spec is bad, but it encourages. They said no voting issues except spec bad, which means that they cannot go for any RVIs, but also encourages baiting, which outweighs because it proliferates abuse, because the better theory debater will always just bully novices and worse theory debaters by proliferating abuse in order to bait a theory shell. And also now the framing issue is that their arguments about how the affirmative can't be a 6-minute plan text or non-resolutional theory bad is solved by our plank of the interpretation that's specifying in cross-examination solves. They refuse to specify cross-examination, which means it's uniquely bad because the affirmative does not have to be a 6-minute plain text, and it's not non-resolutional because if I ask you in cross-examination, that takes no time away from the standard of debate, which outweighs and solves all of their standards. The word substantial is increasingly vague because of the fact that there's no standardized definition or consensus across the topic. Their definition of substantial specifically proves our limit standard. It's either quantitative or qualitative as per their Sotomayor argument that as per their Sotomayor card, which is a quote from their card. There are hundreds of definitions on both sides of the aisle, i.e. for quantitative definitions, our evidence indicates that it ranges from 15% to over 50%, and for qualitative definitions, that could be anything that any one author thinks is qualitatively significant. This is not a frivolous spec shell, but a true abuse story grounded inside of the topic. The difference between 50% and over 50% is massive. Explodes the topic from either the affirmative defending over 20,000 troops reduction, or a 1,000 troop reduction, which is obviously devastating for the negative, which needs to generate links to the affirmative inside of the 1 and C. They've conceded that 1A reclarification stack that and kills every single negative generic because it allows the 1A to post facto change what the affirmative is defending depending on the links that the 1 and C reads. If the negative reads a link to a small change, they can change it to a big change, or if the negative reads a link to a big change, they can change it to a small change, which next assurance this has terror, dissent, etc., that the negative can never have a stable link to the affirmative, which outweighs first flips all of their topic education arguments because it's not a question of topic debates are good, but a question of how are the quality of those topic debates modified. Only our interpretation ensures that the negative is able to access those topic debates. Anything else allows the affirmative to monopolize prep post facto inside of the 1AR, which means that those topic debates are always skewed, never gain education from it. Second, ambiguity impacts the strategy, which outweighs all their arguments because it flips all their substance education standards, and they've conceded that fairness is key because debate is a competitive activity that requires fair rules to evaluate it. Anything else means is a slippery slope to justifying infinite abuse, and the negative is the only one that's able to resolve it and give the negative equitable chances inside of the round. Now, first, don't cross-apply any arguments to the shell from other shells without the 1AR specific say-so. They spent maybe 20 seconds on the shell, so air heavily negative. First, we'll answer their meta objections. First, they say non-resolutional theory is bad. No interpretation text means you should reject this argument, and you should also reject reading spec as a voting issue for the same reason. It kills norm setting because we do not know what their interpretation is justifying or defending, which allows 2AR reclarification, which outweighs because we don't have a 3 and R. It's the only terminal impact because it also kills norm setting, which you can look back to our deters future abuse arguments for an impact. We also are resolutional. We force you to define a word in the resolution substantial. It would be absurd to say that topicality is not resolutional because topicality is just the same as what our shell is doing because it challenges the definition of the word substantial, which is a word inside of the resolution. However, it is good cross-apply our bolsters topic education arguments above, and independently reject non-positively worded voters, which applies to both of their voters as well. They do not tell us what the alternative to reading non-resolutional theory is, which destroys the terminal impact of theory debates, justifies any practice. They say reading spec is a voting issue. Reading spec about words in the resolution is specifically good and solves their interpretation. It just comes down to a question of standard debating. Our argument is that spec is key to avoid affirmative vagueness. Their argument is that it detracts topic education, which just comes down to the standard that they've already read. Fairness outweighs any of their offense. It's none of the doc. Debate is a game that requires competitive incentives to evaluate it. Anything else means that debaters will have no incentive to research the activity or do anything that benefits the activity. If debate was an unfair activity because everyone would just leave it. Reading evidence does not solve. It flips the burden. The affirmative will always be more prepared than us on that debate because of their specific angle. The negative has to prep out one generic definition while the affirmative will have specific nuances that they'll always be more capable of preparing to the negative, etc. Also, reading one definition does not solve. It allows the affirmative to stake the entire debate on a singular definition, i.e. if I read a definition of 15% or a 15% 50% for an assurances distat, and the affirmative just reads a 15% definition and outweighs because of their infinite pre-round prep. That means that they'll always win the round, which an infinite pre-round prep is like a Cedar 1 and C argument, which they shouldn't allow any two or recontextualizations to it. They say definitions don't make sense as qualitative. We answered this above. Their evidence does not say solely qualitative, but it only says qualitative or quantitative metrics are both key, which explodes our limits and proves our limits often even further, because it means that any definition would be viable inside of the 1 AR, which in the negative cannot generate either links to quantitative or qualitative, because both of them are fair game for them. Also, they have not read any reasons why actively not specifying is a good thing, which means that under competing interpretations, they cannot win this debate because they have no offense that justifies their counter interpretation. I also do not think they read a counter interpretation inside, and they also skipped half the standards inside of their docs, which they should look to your flow for the 1 AR because they were incredibly light on spec. All the other shells, no RBI was made. They also said no voting issues inside of cross besides the like spec meta voter and whatever. So the only offense you have is also they conceded drop the debater because it indicts their entire advocacy. So there's nothing to no argument to drop.
Okay. Case spec, is anyone not good? Great. Case was dropped, I win spec, I win the debate. Spec. On spec, we'll concede that fairness comes first, but there is no clear 1 and Z abuse story or weighing for why negative theory comes first, which means that fairness comes first. The warrants from the 1 AR for why affirming is harder were all dropped, which means things like time, speed, abuse, next strategies, and empirical next advice means you should err heavily negative. Affirmative fairness comes first. We might have infinite prep time, but there are also infinite negative strategies and infinite abusive strategies, which means that you have to vote, which means that you should prefer affirmative fairness. Now we're going for two main arguments on spec. The first is the offense, which says that spec is bad because it causes infinite regress. In response, they say that this is like a non-positive voter, and then you don't know if it's bad. But no, our argument is that their spec argument is uniquely bad. We will explicitly concede competing interests, which means that under their model of debate, they said that AF should have to define words in the resolution. That means that every single one has to stand up and define what United States means and what West Asia and North Africa means, which is a terrible model of debate because which is a terrible model of debate because it distracts from substantive debate and skews the 1 AR because the 1 AC doesn't get to read actual substantive arguments for words that people agree with. That means that you definitely prefer AF. You should definitely prefer AF because they just did not respond to this properly. It causes infinite regress because forcing the AF to define every single word in the resolution is A, not grounded in the resolution, and B, is not necessary because they have not extended their definition. You have no idea why the word substantial uniquely means that we need to define it, but our pseudo-minor evidence is fantastic and you're going to vote on it because they didn't attack it properly. First it says that substantial is ambiguous, which might be a reason, but that's not a reason why there's limits. The whole point is that if we prove that we significantly reduce presence, that is enough for them to garner things like dissats, two assurances, and deterrence, which are the things that the NR extends because those dissats rely on things like perception based, which means that as long as there's a large enough shift, which is the app, because we said in cross-ex we listed like tens of countries where we reduce presence, which is enough for them to garner lots and lots of perception advantages. That means our infinite regress and sandbagging standards way outweigh because the negative ground is so low. They say that the apps will read definitions like 15% or whatever, but no, Sotomayor gives you a different vision of the topic where substantial reduction is just seen as a qualitative definition. So if I'm winning that a qualitative understanding of the topic is better than their quantitative understanding, that should be enough to vote app because the affirmative standing up and saying that there is an affirmative, saying that there's significant reduction is a better reading of the topic because it means you don't get into silly semantic questions over 15% or 50% or whatever that means. But the ALF just has to defend that there is a large reduction, which means that negatives can still garner all of their offense. They can still read things like PIG, security, and process count plans, all of that stuff independently. They've conceded what we read, which is that negatives can just read normal means in order to get all three disablings. That is terminal defense to all of their ALF standards. They can just read a piece of normal evidence saying that a substantial reduction would enable this, which means that our for reading of the topic is actually better for them because they get to define in the 1 and C what a substantial reduction would look like, and then they get to read answers to their dissents, which means that we definitely outweigh. Look, framing this debate, though sorting out your evidence is fantastic. No one in R did not extend one piece of evidence which talks about why it's better to have a quantitative reading of the topic or why substantial specifically is bad. We have defended a significant reduction, which is way better. Their definition is bad because it causes a bad